You know that scene where Bakugou tells Deku to jump off the roof? Yeah, that one. Season 1, Episode 1. Most people remember it as, wow, edgy intro, or that's messed up, and then move on. But here's the thing nobody talks about. Bakugou never actually apologized for that. Not really. He cried about it way later, sure, but that's not the same thing, and the show kind of just lets it slide. Which is wild, because that moment isn't an outlier. It's the template. It's the entire Bakugou experience distilled into one line. And somehow, the fandom and even the story itself treats this behavior like it's just passion, like it's drive, like it's what makes him compelling. But let's be honest, if Bakugou were real, if he were your classmate, your coworker, your teammate, you wouldn't admire him, you'd avoid him, or you'd be documenting everything he says for HR. So why does fiction get away with it? Why do we root for him? And more importantly, why do so many people see him as a role model? That's what we're actually talking about today. Not whether Bakugou is a good character, he is. Not whether his arc is well written, it's one of the best in the show, but whether the personality traits we celebrate in him are things we should ever celebrate in ourselves. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Bakugou's strength is really just unregulated anger. His confidence is really just unchecked ego. And his ambition? That's just fear dressed up in explosions. Let's break it down. Part 1. Anger as personality. Bakugou's thing is rage. That's his brand. When he's introduced, he's immediately loud, violent, and hostile. He screams at everyone. He threatens people. He insults his classmates, his teachers, even the villains. His whole energy is, I'm about to explode, and I don't care who's in the blast radius. And the show frames this as cool? Like, think about it. His hero name? Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite. His quirk? Literally explosions. His fighting style? Aggression with no off switch. Everything about him is dialed to 11, all the time, forever. And yeah, in a manga panel or a fight scene, that looks awesome. Explosions are visual. Rage is dramatic. Bakugou yelling at someone has impact literally and figuratively. But here's what the show doesn't linger on. That amount of anger, sustained over years, is not normal. It's not passion. It's not intensity. It's a dysregulation of emotion that in any other context would be treated as a red flag. Let's go back to the beginning. Bakugou and Deku are childhood friends. Deku looks up to him. Bakugou has a quirk, Deku doesn't. And instead of just drifting apart like normal kids do, Bakugou turns it into a decade-long campaign of bullying. He gives Deku a nickname that literally means useless. He burns his notebook. He publicly humiliates him. He tells him to kill himself. And none of that is framed as villain origin story. It's framed as Bakugou being Bakugou. Even later, when he's at UA, when he's training to be a hero, when he's surrounded by people who are just as talented as he is, he's still exploding. Still yelling. Still treating every interaction like a fight he has to win. Sitting next to him at lunch? He's mad. Partnering with him in training? He's mad. Winning a fight? Believe it or not, also mad. The guy has two modes, pissed off and about to be pissed off. And look, we laugh at it. The show plays it for comedy half the time. Oh, classic Bakugou screaming at a villain while he's actively kidnapped. But if you actually stop and think about it, that's exhausting. Not just for the people around him, for him. Because anger isn't free. It's not just an aesthetic. It's a stress response. And Bakugou's body has been in fight-or-flight mode since he was, 4 years old? That's not heroic. That's just cortisol poisoning with better choreography. Part 2. The ego problem. Now let's talk about confidence. Bakugou is confident, right? That's what people say. He believes in himself. He knows he's strong. He doesn't second guess. That's his appeal. He's got that self-assured, I'm the best and I know it energy that a lot of people wish they had. But here's the thing. Confidence doesn't need to prove itself every 5 seconds. Real confidence is quiet. It's steady. It's knowing you're capable without needing to announce it every time you enter a room. Bakugou? He's the opposite. He's loud. He's constantly talking about how strong he is, how he's going to be number one, how everyone else is beneath him. That's not confidence. That's insecurity with a megaphone. Think about how he reacts every time someone is better than him at something. When Todoroki doesn't use his full power in their fight, Bakugo loses it. When Deku starts catching up, Bakugo has a full-on breakdown. When All Might retires and Bakugo finds out he feels responsible, panic attack in front of Deku's house. He can't handle not being the best. He can't handle being seen as weak. He can't even handle someone choosing not to fight him at full strength, because it implies they didn't take him seriously. Everything is a threat to his status. Everything is a challenge to his worth. And he responds to all of it the same way, by getting louder, more aggressive, more volatile. That's not the behavior of someone who's secure in themselves. That's the behavior of someone whose entire sense of self is dependent on external validation, on winning, on being seen as superior. And the scary part? The story kind of knows this. There's that whole arc after the provisional license exam where Bakugo fails because he can't work with people. The lesson is clear. Being strong isn't enough if you're a jerk. But then, he passes the next time. And yeah, he's slightly better at teamwork. But he's still Bakugo. He's still yelling. He's still insulting people. He's still operating from a place of ego. The show acts like he's grown, and maybe he has by like 5%. But that's grading on a serious curve. Because let's be real, if your character development is I went from telling people to die to just calling them extras, you're not a reformed person. You're just slightly less of a nightmare. Part 3. The trauma no one talks about. Okay, here's where it gets deeper. Bakugo's anger and ego aren't random. They didn't come out of nowhere. They're a defense mechanism. And if you look at his actual backstory, it makes sense. Bakugo was praised for everything as a kid. He had a flashy quirk. He was naturally talented. Everyone told him he was special. Teachers, classmates, probably even his parents, everyone reinforced this idea that he was destined for greatness. And then he gets to UA, and suddenly, he's not special anymore. Todoroki has a crazy powerful quirk. Deku inherited All Might's power. Even people like Tokoyami and Aida are just as competent as he is. For the first time in his life, Bakugo is just another student. And he can't handle it. That's the trauma, not some tragic backstory, not a villain attack. Just the collapse of his identity. He was told his whole life that being strong made him worth something. And now that's not enough. Now he actually has to prove it. So what does he do? He leans harder into the only thing he knows, aggression. He turns everything into a competition. He refuses to be vulnerable, refuses to ask for help, refuses to admit he's struggling. Because if he's not the best, then who is he? That's the question Bakugo never answers. He never builds an identity outside of the strongest. He never finds worth in anything else: friendships, creativity, helping people, learning, growing. It's all about power, about status, about winning. And that's really sad, actually. Because the whole time, he's surrounded by people who would support him if he let them. Kirishima's his friend. Deku still looks up to him. Even Aizawa sees his potential. But Bakugo can't accept that, because accepting support means admitting he's not entirely self-sufficient. And that would crack the image. That would mean he's not perfect. So instead, he stays angry. He stays isolated. He stays in this exhausting performance of dominance that nobody even asked for. Part 4. Why the fandom loves it anyway. So here's the big question. If Bakugo is this much of a mess, why do people love him? And the answer is pretty simple. Because fiction lets us enjoy the fantasy without the consequences. In real life, if someone screamed at you the way Bakugo screams at people, you'd feel unsafe. If a coworker treated you the way he treats his classmates, you'd go to HR. If a friend had his level of emotional volatility, you'd probably distance yourself. But in a story, it's entertainment, it's intensity, it's drama. We get all the adrenaline of his personality without any of the actual damage. Plus, he's good at stuff. He wins fights. He's smart in combat. He's flashy. That competence makes the rough edges feel like part of the package instead of serious interpersonal problems. And then there's the arc. Bakugo does grow, slowly, across hundreds of episodes. He becomes less openly hostile. He works with people. He even saves lives selflessly a few times. The story wants us to believe he's changing. And we want to believe it because we're invested. But here's the thing the show doesn't say out loud. Bakugou's growth is almost entirely about becoming a better hero, not a better person. He learns to cooperate in battle. Great. He learns to respect Deku's strength. Cool. But does he ever actually sit down and go, hey, I was really horrible to you for 10 years and that was wrong? Not really. He cries about it once, but that's for him, that's his guilt, his pain. It's not an apology. It's not accountability. It's catharsis. And Deku forgives him anyway, because Deku's whole thing is being too kind for his own good. So Bakugou gets to have his emotional moment, his character development, his redemption arc, without ever actually changing the core behavior. He's still rude. He's still volatile. He's still centered entirely on himself. He just does it while saving people now. So it's fine, apparently. Part 5. The real cost. Let's bring this back to the real world for a second. Because here's the thing. People do idolize Bakugou, not just as a character but as a model. They see his confidence, his strength, his refusal to quit, and they think, I want that energy. And look, I get it. There's something appealing about someone who doesn't apologize for taking up space, who doesn't shrink themselves, who goes after what they want with zero hesitation. But you can't take the good parts and leave the bad. That's not how personality works. If you model yourself after Bakugou, you're not just getting the confidence, you're getting the anger, the ego, the inability to regulate your emotions, the need to win every interaction, the isolation that comes from treating everyone like a rival. You're getting someone who can't be wrong, can't be vulnerable, can't admit when they need help. And maybe you think that's strength. Maybe you think that's what it takes to succeed. But here's what actually happens when you live like that. You burn out. You push people away. You turn every relationship into a transaction. You wake up one day and realize you've been performing for so long that you don't even know who you are underneath it. You become the person people respect from a distance, but nobody actually wants to be around. And that's the Bakugou trap. The idea that if you're just strong enough, loud enough, tough enough, you won't need anyone. You'll be fine on your own. But you won't. Because humans aren't wired that way. We need connection. We need softness. We need to be able to lose sometimes without it destroying our sense of self. Bakugou never learned that, and the story never really forced him to. So if you take him as a blueprint, you won't learn it. Either. Final thoughts. So, should you be like Bakugou? No. Not because he's a bad character, he's not. Not because his arc is poorly written, it's actually one of the most compelling in the show. But because the traits that make him interesting to watch are not the traits that make someone good to be. Anger isn't strength, ego isn't confidence, and refusing to be vulnerable isn't the same as being strong. Bakugou works in fiction because we get to see the highlights, the explosions, the wins, the cool moments. But if you actually lived like that, you'd be exhausted, lonely, constantly on edge. And the people around you would either enable it or leave. So yeah, enjoy Bakugou as a character. Appreciate his complexity. Root for his growth. But don't try to be him. Because the version of strength he represents isn't actually strong. It's just loud.